I was sitting at table 47 in the back corner of the reception hall, right next to the swinging kitchen doors. Every time a server pushed through with a tray of food, the door would hit the back of my chair, the smell of dirty dishes mixed with expensive perfume. This was my seat at my own son's wedding. My name is Dorothy Williams. I'm 67 years old. I raised my son Cameron by myself after his father walked out when he was 3. I worked as a high school English teacher for 38 years, saved every penny, and gave that boy everything I had. And now, on his wedding day, I was sitting at the worst table in the room while strangers sat in places of honor. The bride, my new daughter-in-law Vanessa, stood at the microphone in her $8,000 dress. The dress I'd helped pay for. She looked stunning, I'll give her that. Long dark hair and perfect curls, makeup flawless, smiling that pageant smile she'd perfected. "I just want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate this special day," she said, her voice sweet as honey. "We had to make some tough decisions about seating. We wanted to make sure all the important people, our friends, Cameron's business partners, people who really matter to our future, had the best seats." She paused, and her eyes landed on me for just a second, just long enough for me to see the smirk. "Some family sits where there's space," she continued. "We hope everyone understands." The room laughed. Not a friendly laugh, a knowing laugh. The kind of laugh that said, "Yeah, we get it. Some people don't belong at the main tables." I sat there, clutching my small purse, and I smiled, because what Vanessa didn't know, what nobody in this room knew except me and my banker, was that I had written a check for $50,000 3 months ago to pay for this wedding. Cameron had come to me in tears. Vanessa's parents said they'd pay for everything, but now they're backing out. Her dad lost his job. We're going to have to cancel the venue, the caterer, everything. I don't know what to do." "How much do you need?" $50,000. I know you don't have that kind of money." "I have it. It's my retirement savings, but Cameron, you're my son. If this makes you happy, I'll do it." He'd hugged me so tight, I could barely breathe. I love you. We'll pay you back. I promise." That was 3 months ago. Since then, Vanessa had changed. She'd started making comments about how I dressed, how I talked, how I didn't really fit with their new crowd. Cameron worked for a tech startup now, making good money, and suddenly his mother, the English teacher who raised him in a 2-bedroom apartment, was an embarrassment. 2 weeks before the wedding, I'd asked Cameron where I'd be sitting. "Oh, Vanessa's handling all that, Ma. I'm sure you'll have a good spot." "Will I be at the family table?" "Ma, it's complicated. Vanessa's family is big and we have a lot of important guests." "Karen, am I sitting at the family table?" Silence. Then, "Probably not the main family table, but you'll be close." Table 47 wasn't close. It was as far from the head table as you could get without being in the parking lot. I was sitting with Vanessa's great aunt who had dementia and kept asking me if I was the caterer, a divorced cousin who spent the whole cocktail hour crying about her ex-husband, and 4 teenagers who were clearly being punished by being stuck at the reject table. But I smiled through it all. Through the ceremony where I sat in the back row while Vanessa's unemployed father walked her down the aisle. Through the cocktail hour where nobody spoke to me. Through the dinner where I ate rubber chicken while the head table got filet mignon. I smiled because I had a plan. The DJ announced it was time for the mother-son dance. Cameron stood up, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. He started walking towards his table, towards Vanessa's mother-in-law. "Wait, what?" The DJ's voice boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, Cameron and his mother-in-law, Patricia, will now share a special dance." I watched my son take Vanessa's mother's hand and lead her to the dance floor. She was wearing a gold dress and too much jewelry, smiling like she'd won the lottery. They danced to A Song for Mama while everyone clapped and took pictures. I sat at table 47, alone, invisible. Vanessa's mother hadn't contributed a single dollar to this wedding. I had paid for everything: the venue, the food, the flowers, the photographer, the band, all of it. And she got the mother-son dance. When the song ended, Cameron hugged Patricia and kissed her cheek. He glanced towards table 47, toward me, and I saw something in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or shame. But he didn't come over. He just went back to his seat next to his new wife. That's when I stood up. I smoothed my modest navy dress, the one Vanessa had said looked appropriate for someone your age, and I walked to the head table. "Excuse me," I said to the DJ. "May I borrow the microphone?" He looked confused, but handed it over. I tapped it twice. The feedback screeched. Everyone turned to look at the old woman who had no business making a speech. "Hi, everyone. I'm Dorothy Williams, Cameron's mother." I smiled at the crowd. I know I wasn't scheduled to speak tonight. I wasn't scheduled for much of anything, actually, but I wanted to share something. Vanessa's face went pale. Cameron looked terrified. 3 months ago, my son came to me asking for help. His fiance's family had backed out of paying for the wedding, and he needed $50,000 to save this beautiful celebration. So I gave it to him. Every penny of my retirement savings, because that's what mothers do. We sacrifice for our children. The room went completely silent. But something magical happened tonight. I realized that my contribution, my sacrifice, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because love isn't about money. It's about respect. It's about gratitude. It's about recognizing the people who truly care about you. I looked at Cameron, my baby boy who I raised alone, who I worked 3 jobs to put through college. So I've made a decision. Vanessa, you were right about seating arrangements. Some people don't belong at the main tables. And I don't belong at a celebration where I'm treated like an inconvenience. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I'm calling my bank right now to stop payment on that check, all of $50,000 of it. Vanessa jumped up. "You can't do that. Everything's already been paid for." "Actually, I can. The check hasn't cleared yet. My banker confirmed it this morning. I have until midnight tonight to stop payment." I looked at my watch. It's 9:47 p.m. I think I have time. Cameron ran over. "Ma, please, don't do this. We can fix this." "Fix what, baby? Fix the fact that your wife humiliated me in front of 300 people? Fix the fact that you gave the mother-son dance to her mother instead of yours? Fix the fact that I'm sitting next to the kitchen while strangers eat food I paid for?" People started pulling out their phones, recording. This was going to be all over social media by morning. I handed the microphone back to the DJ and walked towards the exit. Behind me, I heard Vanessa screaming, Cameron crying, guests whispering, chaos. But I didn't look back. I walked out into the parking lot, got in my 2008 Toyota Camry, and drove home. And for the first time in 3 months, I smiled, a real smile. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't staying silent. Sometimes it's speaking up. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and 128 text messages. Most were from Cameron. "Ma, please answer. We need to talk. The vendors are calling. Ma, please." 3 were from Vanessa. I didn't read those. I deleted them immediately. And 1 was from my sister Gloria, who lived in Atlanta and hadn't even been at the wedding. Her message just said, "Girl, you're all over TikTok. Call me." I made myself coffee, the good kind I usually save for special occasions, and I sat at my kitchen table looking out at my small garden. The roses I'd planted 5 years ago were blooming, red ones, Marcus's favorite color. Marcus was my late husband, Cameron's father. He'd left when Cameron was 3, but not because he wanted to. He died in a car accident coming home from his second job. He'd been working himself to death to provide for us, and in the end, that's exactly what happened. I'd raised Cameron alone after that, worked as a teacher during the day, tutored kids at night, sold Avon on weekends. Whatever it took to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. And I'd done a good job. Cameron graduated top of his class, got a full scholarship to Georgia Tech, became a software engineer, made something of himself. Or so I thought. My phone rang again. Cameron. I let it go to voicemail. Then I opened TikTok. Gloria had texted me the link. The video already had 2.3 million views. Someone had recorded my entire speech. The caption read, "Mother-in-law destroys wedding after being disrespected. This is savage." The comments were split. Half the people were on my side. She paid $50K and got table 47. I would have done worse. That daughter-in-law got what she deserved. Respect your elders, period. The other half thought I was petty. Imagine ruining your son's wedding over a seating arrangement. She could have talked to them privately. Some people just can't let others be happy. I closed the app. I didn't need validation from strangers. I knew what I'd done and why I'd done it. My phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mrs. Williams, this is Jennifer Chen from the Rosewood Grand Hotel. I'm calling about the wedding reception held at our venue last night." My stomach tightened. "Yes?" "I understand there was an issue with payment. The check you provided has been flagged for stop payment. Our contract requires full payment within 48 hours of the event, or we'll be forced to pursue legal action against the responsible parties." The responsible parties would be the bride and groom, Miss Chen, not me. "Actually, Mrs. Williams, your name is on the contract as the guarantor. When you signed the venue agreement 3 months ago, you agreed to be financially responsible if the primary check failed to clear." "I never signed anything." "According to our records, you did. I'm looking at the signature right now. Dorothy R. Williams, May 15th. Vanessa, that clever little snake, had forged my signature. "Miss Chen, I believe that signature was forged. I never agreed to be a guarantor for anything." "Mrs. Williams, if that's true, this becomes a police matter. Forgery is a serious crime. However, our immediate concern is the $50,000 owed to our venue. If payment isn't received by Monday at 5 p.m., we'll be filing a lawsuit against all parties listed on the contract." "File it. I'll be happy to testify that my signature was forged." There was a pause. "Mrs. Williams, may I speak off the record for a moment?" "Go ahead." "I saw the video. I know what happened at that reception. And between you and me, if someone treated me that way at my own son's wedding, I would have done a lot worse than stop a check." She lowered her voice. "But the reality is, we're a business. We've provided services. Someone has to pay. If you can provide evidence that your signature was forged, we'll pursue the bride and groom exclusively. But we will pursue someone." "I understand. Thank you for the heads up, Miss Chen." After I hung up, I sat there thinking. Vanessa had forged my signature. That meant she'd been planning to trap me into paying from the very beginning. The disrespect at the wedding wasn't impulsive, it was calculated. She never intended to treat me with dignity, she just wanted my money. My phone rang again. Cameron. This time, I answered. Ma, did you know Vanessa forged my signature on the venue contract? Silence. Cameron, did you know? Ma, she said you'd agreed to it. She said you signed the papers when she brought them over. I never signed anything. She forged my name to make sure I couldn't back out of paying, even if I wanted to. More silence. Then, Ma, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But you knew she was treating me like garbage, and you said nothing. You gave her mother the dance that should have been mine. You let her seat me at table 47 like I was nobody. I'm sorry, Ma. I'm so sorry. I was just trying to keep the peace. Vanessa said if I made a big deal about the seating, she'd call off the wedding. Then you should have let her call it off, baby. Because right now, you're married to a woman who used you to get to my money and disrespected your mother in front of 300 people. Was keeping the peace worth that? I heard him crying on the other end of the line. My son. My baby boy. Part of me wanted to fix it, to tell him it was okay, to write another check and make all his problems disappear like I'd been doing his whole life. But another part of me, the stronger part, knew that wouldn't help him. It would just teach him that he could treat me however he wanted, and I'd always come running with my checkbook. Ma, please. The vendors are threatening to sue us. We don't have $50,000. If you don't release that check, we're going to be in debt for years. Please, Ma, I'm begging you. You should have thought about that before you let your wife humiliate me. What do you want me to do? Get a divorce? We've been married for 12 hours. I want you to grow a spine, Cameron. I want you to stand up for the woman who sacrificed everything for you. But since you didn't do that last night, I guess it's too late now. I hung up. My hands were shaking, my heart was pounding, but I didn't pry. Instead, I called my lawyer. My lawyer's name was Patricia Morrison. Yes, same first name as Vanessa's mother, which made me smile every time I said it. Patricia had handled my will and my house refinancing years ago. She was tough, no nonsense, and she didn't take crap from anyone. Dorothy, I saw the video, she said when I called Monday morning. Half my office has seen it. You're famous. I don't want to be famous. I want to know my legal options. Smart. Come to my office this afternoon. Bring any documentation you have about the wedding payments. At 2 p.m., I sat in Patricia's office with a folder full of bank statements, emails, and text messages between me and Cameron about the wedding costs. Patricia reviewed everything carefully. Okay, here's what we've got. The venue is claiming you signed as a guarantor, but you're saying the signature was forged. Do you have any proof? I was never at the hotel. I never saw any contract. Vanessa must have signed my name. That's going to be hard to prove unless we can show you were somewhere else on May 15th when the contract was allegedly signed, or if a handwriting expert can prove it's not your signature. I can prove where I was. May 15th was a Wednesday. I teach summer school every Wednesday. I was at Lincoln High School from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. There are attendance records, security cameras, everything. Patricia smiled. Perfect. That gives us leverage. If they push the guarantor angle, we prove forgery, and Vanessa faces criminal charges. They won't want that kind of publicity. What about the stopped check? That's trickier. You did write the check voluntarily. You stopped payment after the services were rendered. Technically, the venue has a right to pursue payment. From Cameron and Vanessa, not from me. Exactly. But here's the thing. They're going to come after whoever they think has money. Your son is 28 years old, works in tech, probably has some assets. But you? You're a retired teacher. They're going to assume you have more saved up than he does. So what do I do? We write a letter explaining that you stopped payment due to breach of contract, specifically that you were promised certain considerations in exchange for your financial contribution, and those considerations were not met. We cite emotional distress, public humiliation, and misrepresentation. We also threaten to file a police report for forgery if they continue to pursue you. Will that work? Probably. Most vendors don't want legal drama, they just want their money. We make it clear that Cameron and Vanessa are the liable parties, not you, and we let them chase those two. I nodded slowly. What happens to Cameron? Patricia leaned back in her chair. Dorothy, I'm going to be straight with you. Your son is about to learn a very expensive lesson. If he can't pay the vendors, they'll sue him. His credit will be destroyed. He might have to file bankruptcy. It's going to be rough. And if I just release the check, pay the $50,000, then he learns nothing. He goes on thinking he can treat you however he wants and you'll always bail him out. Is that the lesson you want to teach? I thought about Cameron at 5 years old, crying because kids at school made fun of his worn-out shoes. I'd worked an extra job that month to buy him new Nikes. I thought about Cameron at 16, wrecking my car because he was texting while driving. I'd paid the insurance deductible and never said a word. I thought about Cameron at 22, calling me from college because he'd spent his tuition money on a spring break trip. I'd taken out a loan to cover it. I'd been bailing him out his entire life. No, I said quietly. That's not the lesson I want to teach. Then we proceed with the letter. That evening, I was making dinner when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Vanessa standing there, in yoga pants and a hoodie, her hair in a messy ponytail. No makeup. She looked like she'd been crying. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Mrs. Williams, can we talk, please? We don't have anything to talk about, Vanessa. Yes, we do. Cameron's at work. He doesn't know I'm here. I came on my own because I need to explain something. Explain what? How you humiliated me at your wedding, how you forged my signature, how you stole $50,000 from me? Her face crumbled. I didn't mean it for it to go that far. I swear I didn't. Then what did you mean exactly? She wiped her eyes. Can I please come in? Just for 5 minutes? Against my better judgment, I stepped aside and let her into my living room. She sat on the edge of my couch, looking small and young and nothing like the confident bride from Saturday night. My parents are broke, she said quietly. Like, really broke. They haven't paid their mortgage in 6 months. They're about to lose their house. When they said they couldn't pay for the wedding, I panicked. Cameron and I didn't have that kind of money either. I didn't know what to do. So you manipulated my son into asking me for it. Yes, I told him to ask you. I knew you'd say yes because you always say yes to him. And then I thought, if I could just get through the wedding, we'd figure out how to pay you back later. By forging my signature on a contract? She looked down at her hands. My friend works at the venue. She said they needed a guarantor, someone with good credit and assets, or they wouldn't hold our date. Cameron's credit isn't great. He has student loans. Mine is worse. But you're a homeowner. You have savings. So I signed your name. I told myself it was just paperwork, that it didn't mean anything because we were going to pay anyway. But you weren't going to pay. You never had any intention of paying me back. We were going to try. Vanessa, you treated me like trash at your wedding. You put me at table 47. You gave my mother's Sundance to your own mother. You publicly humiliated me. That's not how you treat someone you intend to pay back. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I know I messed up, but Mrs. Williams, you have to understand, my parents were there. All their friends were there. People from our church, people from the country club we can't afford anymore. I couldn't let them see that we didn't have money. I couldn't let them know my parents are failures. So you made me look like a failure instead. I didn't think of it that way. I just thought, You're older, you're retired, people don't expect as much from you. You wouldn't care about sitting in the back. I stared at her. You thought I wouldn't care? I mean, I thought you'd understand, that you'd want what was best for Cameron, that you'd be happy just to be there. I was happy to be there, Vanessa. I was happy to celebrate my son's wedding. What I wasn't happy about was being treated like I didn't matter, like my sacrifice meant nothing, like I was just a checkbook with legs. She sobbed harder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could take it back, I would. But Mrs. Williams, please, release the check. Please. We're getting calls from lawyers, the venue, the caterer, the florist, everyone. We're going to be sued for everything we have. Cameron can't sleep. He can't eat. He's having panic attacks. Please. I looked at this young woman crying on my couch, and part of me felt sorry for her. She was young, stupid, desperate to impress people who didn't matter. But another part of me, the part that had worked 3 jobs to raise my son, felt nothing but anger. Vanessa, do you know what I did the day after your father-in-law died? She shook her head. I went to work. I had a 3-year-old son. No money, no life insurance because we couldn't afford it, and a funeral to pay for. And I went to work, because that's what adults do. We face consequences. I know, but no, you don't know. You've never had to sacrifice anything real in your life. Your parents gave you everything until they couldn't anymore. Then you found Cameron, a kind, generous man who I raised to help people, and you used him to get to me. And now you want me to save you from the consequences of your own choices? She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. Please, Mrs. Williams, I'm begging you. I stood up. I think you should leave now. Mrs. Williams, get out of my house, Vanessa. She left, still crying, and I closed the door behind her. Then I sat down on my couch and finally let myself cry, too. 2 days later, Cameron showed up at my house at 6 a.m. I was still in my bathrobe, drinking my first coffee of the day, when I heard pounding on my door. Ma, please, I know you're in there. I opened the door. My son looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, unshaven, wrinkled clothes. He'd looked like he hadn't slept in days. Cameron, it's 6 in the morning. We got served, Ma. The venue filed a lawsuit, $50,000 plus interest and legal fees. That's almost $60,000 now. He pushed past me into the house. Ma, they're going to garnish my wages. Vanessa's parents can't help. They're broke. Her dad's unemployment ran out. We don't have anything. Cameron, sit down. You're going to give yourself a heart attack. I can't sit down. My entire life is falling apart. I got married 4 days ago and I'm already being sued. He ran his hands through his hair. Ma, I lost 12 pounds this week. I can't eat. I can't work. My boss asked me if I needed time off because I keep making mistakes on my code. This is destroying me. I poured him a cup of coffee. Drink this. He took it with shaking hands. Ma, please, I'll do anything. I'll pay you back every cent with interest. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. Just please release that check. Please. What does Vanessa say about all this? His face changed. Something darker crossed his expression. Vanessa says we should declare bankruptcy. Just wipe it all out and start over. And what do you say? I say that's my mother's retirement money, and we don't get to just wipe it out. He set down the coffee cup. Ma, I've been doing a lot of thinking these past few days about the wedding, about how you were treated, and I need to tell you something. What's that? I knew Vanessa was planning to put you in the back. She told me 2 weeks before the wedding. She said her parents needed to be at the front tables because appearances matter and that you'd understand because you've always been so reasonable. The words hit me like a physical blow. You knew? I told her it was wrong. I told her you paid for everything and deserved to be honored. We had this huge fight about it. She said if I didn't back her up on the seating, she'd cancel the wedding. She said I had to choose, her or you. And you chose her. I thought once we were married, things would get better. I thought she'd calm down and we could fix the relationship between you two. I thought I was being smart, avoiding conflict, keeping the peace. His voice cracked. I was wrong, Ma. I was so wrong. I sat down across from him. Cameron, do you know what the worst part of that night was? Table 47? No. The worst part was watching you dance with Patricia. Watching you give the mother-son dance, my dance, to a woman who did nothing for you. A woman who wasn't there when you had pneumonia at age 7. Who wasn't there when you broke your arm playing basketball. Who wasn't there for any of it. I know, Ma. God, I know. That was Vanessa's idea too. She said it would mean so much to her mom and that you'd probably be relieved not to be in the spotlight. I should have said no. I should have fought harder. Yes, you should have. He wiped his face. I don't know how to fix this, Ma. I don't know how to fix any of this. Do you love her, Vanessa? Do you really love her? Cameron was quiet for a long time. I don't know anymore. 4 days ago, I would have said yes. Now, I look at her and I see someone who used me, someone who forged your signature, someone who cares more about what people think than about doing what's right. He looked at me. I think I married the wrong person, Ma, and I don't know what to do about it. That's something you need to figure out on your own, baby. I can't make that decision for you. Will you help us with the lawsuit, even if I don't know if my marriage is going to survive? I thought about it. Really thought about it. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about teaching my son that actions have consequences. But it was also about recognizing when someone genuinely understood they'd made a mistake. I'll make you a deal, I finally said. I'll release the check. I'll pay the venue and the vendors. His face lit up with relief. But, I continued, there are conditions, non-negotiable. Anything, Ma, anything. First, you and Vanessa go to counseling. Not because I think you should stay together, but because you need to figure out if this marriage is worth saving. If it's not, you end it now before you bring children into this mess. Okay, what else? Second, Vanessa writes me a formal apology letter. Not an email, not a text, a handwritten letter taking full responsibility for what she did. The forgery, the humiliation, all of it. And she reads it to me in person. I'll make sure she does. Third, you both pay me back. Not all at once. I'm not trying to destroy you financially, but $2,000 a month until the $50,000 is repaid, with 5% interest. That's 28 months of payments, over 2 years. If you miss a single payment, I file a lawsuit for the full amount, plus legal fees. Done. Absolutely. And fourth, I paused. Fourth, you never, ever let anyone treat me like I'm nothing again. Not Vanessa, not any future wife if this doesn't work out, not anyone. I raised you better than that, Cameron. I taught you to respect people, especially the people who sacrifice for you. You forgot that lesson. Don't forget it again. He broke down completely then, came around the table and hugged me like he was 5 years old again. I'm sorry, Ma. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll never let anyone disrespect you like that again. I held my son and let him cry. Because that's what mothers do. Even when our children hurt us, even when they disappoint us, we still love them. We still want them to be better. But love doesn't mean being a doormat. And forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Okay, baby. Okay, we'll fix this. Later that afternoon, I called my bank and released the check. Then I called Patricia Morrison, my lawyer. I'm paying them, but I want a contract drawn up. Payment plan, interest, all of it. Legal and binding. If they default, I want the right to sue for the full amount plus legal fees. Smart. I'll have it ready by tomorrow. And Patricia, I want Vanessa's apology letter witnessed and notarized. I want proof she admitted to forgery, just in case. Patricia laughed. Dorothy, you're vicious. I love it. That evening, Cameron called. Ma, the venue confirmed they received payment. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. You've got 28 months of payments ahead of you, and I expect that first payment on the 1st of next month. You'll have it. Ma, there's something else. I talked to Vanessa about everything. The counseling, the apology letter, all of it. She agreed to everything. Good. But Ma, she asked me something. She asked if you'd ever forgive her. If there was any chance you two to have a relationship. I thought about Vanessa sitting on my couch, crying and begging. I thought about the young woman who'd been so desperate to impress people that she'd destroyed the one person willing to help her. I said to Vanessa this: forgiveness isn't free. It's earned. She can start earning it by keeping her promises, making those payments, and treating me with the respect I deserve. After that, we'll see. Fair enough. After we hung up, I sat in my garden with a glass of wine, something I rarely did, but tonight felt like a special occasion. The roses were still blooming, red, vibrant, beautiful. My phone buzzed. A text from Gloria. Girl, you handled that perfectly. Proud of you. Then another text, this one from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Williams, this is Jennifer Chen from the Rosewood Grand Hotel. I wanted to personally thank you for resolving the payment issue. And I wanted you to know I've been in the wedding business for 20 years, and what happened to you at that reception was unacceptable. I hope your family makes things right. I smiled and texted back, thank you, Jennifer. They're working on it. The sun was setting, painting my small backyard in shades of orange and pink. I thought about Marcus, my late husband. What would he say about all this? Probably something like, Dorothy, you did good. You taught that boy a lesson he needed to learn. Yeah, I thought. I did. But the story wasn't over yet. 3 weeks after the wedding, Vanessa knocked on my door at exactly 2 p.m. She was holding a cream-colored envelope and looked nervous. Mrs. Williams, I have the letter you asked for. Can I come in? I opened the door wider. Come in. Sit in the living room. She sat on the edge of the couch, clutching the envelope like it might explode. I sat across from her in my reading chair. Before you read it, she said, her voice shaky, I want you to know I've been seeing a therapist. Cameron and I started couples counseling too, like you asked. And I've been thinking a lot about why I did what I did. I'm listening. I grew up in a house where everything was about appearances. My dad worked in finance, and we lived in this big house in the suburbs. Country club, private schools, designer clothes, all of it. But it was all fake, Mrs. Williams. My parents were drowning in debt the whole time. They were pretending to be rich while maxing out credit cards and taking out loans they couldn't afford. She twisted the envelope in her hands. When I met Cameron, I saw someone who was genuine, someone who worked hard for what he had, someone whose mother loved him unconditionally. I think part of me resented you for that, for being real in a way my family never was. So, you decided to humiliate me. No, I decided to make myself feel important by making you feel small, which is worse. She took a breath. My therapist says I have a lot of work to do on myself, on understanding why I need validation from people who don't matter, why I hurt the people who actually care. What does Cameron say about all this? Her eyes filled with tears. He says he doesn't know if he can stay married to me. He says he needs to see real change, not just words. He moved into the guest bedroom 2 weeks ago. I see. Mrs. Williams, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I don't deserve Cameron either, but I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to understand why I became someone so ugly. And this letter, she held it out to me, this letter is the truth, all of it. I took the envelope and opened it. Inside was 3 pages of handwritten text on nice stationery. Vanessa's handwriting was neat and careful, like she'd written it multiple times to get it perfect. I began to read aloud. Dear Dorothy Williams, I am writing this letter to formally apologize for my inexcusable actions surrounding our wedding and the treatment you received. I need to be honest and specific about what I did wrong, because vague apologies mean nothing. First, I manipulated Cameron into asking you for $50,000 by telling him my parents had backed out of paying. This was partially true. My parents are broke, but I never gave you the option to say no. I knew Cameron would ask you because he loves you, and I used that love as a weapon. Second, I forged your signature on the venue contract as a guarantor without your knowledge or permission. I did this deliberately to trap you financially, ensuring you couldn't back out of paying even if you discovered how I planned to treat you. This was fraud. This was a crime, and I did it anyway because I am a coward who was more afraid of losing my perfect wedding than doing what was right. Third, I deliberately seated you at table 47, the worst table in the room, despite knowing you had paid for the entire wedding. I did this to appease my parents and their friends, people who have never done anything for me except teach me that appearances matter more than character. I wanted them to think we were successful and important, and I sacrificed your dignity to maintain that illusion. Fourth, I gave the mother-son dance to my own mother instead of you. This was especially cruel because my mother contributed nothing to our wedding except criticism and demands, while you gave everything. I knew this would hurt you, and I did it anyway. Fifth, when I stood at the microphone and said some family sits where there's space, I looked directly at you. That wasn't an accident. That was deliberate humiliation. I wanted everyone to know that despite paying for the wedding, you weren't important enough to sit with family. I wanted to publicly establish that my family's social status mattered more than your sacrifice. I cannot fully explain why I became this person. My therapist says I've internalized my parents' toxic values about money and status, that I've been performing for an audience that doesn't actually care about me, that I hurt you because I was desperate to feel important, and making you feel small made me feel big. None of this excuses what I did. Nothing excuses what I did. Mrs. Williams, you gave me everything: financial support, trust, and the gift of marrying your son. And I repaid you with betrayal, forgery, and public humiliation. I destroyed a relationship with my mother-in-law before it even began. I hurt Cameron in ways that may end our marriage. And I revealed myself to be exactly the kind of person I claimed I didn't want to be: shallow, cruel, and ungrateful. I am paying you back every dollar with interest, but money cannot repair what I broke. Trust cannot be bought. Respect cannot be purchased. I destroyed both, and I may never be able to rebuild them. If you choose never to forgive me, I understand. If you choose never to have a relationship with me, I understand. If you decide I'm not worthy of being part of your family, I understand. But I want you to know that I see what I did. I understand the pain I caused, and I am committed to becoming someone different. Someone who values people over appearances, character over status, and genuine connection over shallow performance. I am deeply, truly, and completely sorry. Sincerely, Vanessa Hayes. I finished reading and looked up at her. She was crying silently, not trying to hide it or wipe her tears away. "Did you mean all of this?" I asked. "Every word. My therapist helped me understand what I did, but these are my words, my acknowledgement, my shame." I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. "This letter will be notarized and kept as a legal document. Your written confession of fraud. Do you understand that?" "Yes, ma'am." If you ever default on the payments, if you ever treat me with disrespect again, I will use this letter. Do you understand that too?" "Yes, ma'am." I studied her for a long moment. She was young, stupid, broken by parents who taught her all the wrong values. But she was also sitting here, facing consequences, trying to understand herself. "Vanessa, I'm going to tell you something my mother told me when I was about your age." "Okay." She said, "Dorothy, everyone makes mistakes. The question is whether you make the same mistake twice. You've made a terrible mistake. You've hurt people you claim to love. The question now is, will you make this mistake again? Will you keep being the person your parents raised you to be, or will you become someone different?" "I want to be different." Wanting isn't enough. You have to do the work every single day. When you're tempted to impress people who don't matter, you have to choose differently. When you're tempted to value appearance over substance, you have to choose differently. Can you do that? "I don't know, but I'm going to try." I nodded slowly. "That's all anyone can do. Try." She wiped her face. "Mrs. Williams, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Why did you forgive Cameron so quickly, but not me?" "I haven't forgiven Cameron. I've given him a chance to earn forgiveness. There's a difference, and I'm giving you the same chance." "But Vanessa, understand something. Cameron is my son. I've known him for 28 years. I've seen his character. I know his heart. You? I barely know you, and what I do know, I don't like. So you have further to climb than he does." "That's fair." "The first payment is due in 1 week, $2,000. Can you make it?" "Yes, ma'am. Cameron and I are both picking up extra work. We're selling things we don't need. We're cutting every expense. You'll have your payment." "Good. Because if you miss even one, this gets ugly. Understand?" "Yes, ma'am." After she left, I sat alone with the letter. I read it again, more slowly this time, looking for lies or manipulation. But I couldn't find any. It read like genuine remorse. Maybe Vanessa really was trying to change. Or maybe she was just a good actress protecting herself from legal consequences. Time would tell. My phone rang. It was Cameron. "Ma, Vanessa just called me crying." "Did she read you the letter?" "She did. And? And we'll see if her actions match her words. That's all I can say right now." "That's more than I expected. Thank you, Ma." "Cameron, are you going to stay with her?" He sighed. "I honestly don't know. My therapist says I need to figure out what I want, not what everyone else wants. Right now, I want space. I want to see if she really changes. And I want to rebuild my relationship with you. That's what I know." "That's a good start, baby." That night, I went to bed feeling something I hadn't in weeks. Hope. Maybe this family could heal after all. 6 months passed. 6 months of watching, waiting, and testing whether Vanessa's apology was real or just performance. Every month, on the first day, a check arrived. $2,000, exactly on time. Sometimes Cameron delivered it personally. Sometimes it came in the mail with a short note from Vanessa. "Payment 3 of 28. Thank you for your patience." I deposited every check and marked it in my ledger. $2,000, $4,000, $6,000. Slowly, they were paying back what they owed. But money was only part of the story. Cameron and Vanessa were still in counseling. He'd stayed in the guest bedroom for 2 months before finally moving back into their bedroom. "We're trying," he told me. "It's not perfect, but we're trying." Vanessa had taken a second job at a coffee shop on weekends to help with the payments. Cameron sent me a photo once, Vanessa in an apron, hair in a ponytail, serving lattes to customers. The woman who'd worried so much about appearances was now making minimum wage in a service job. "She's embarrassed," Cameron told me. "Some of her old country club friends came in last week. They couldn't believe she was working there. But Ma, she didn't quit. She just smiled and took their orders." That impressed me more than the apology letter had. Around month 4, Vanessa started texting me. Not often, maybe once every 2 weeks. Small things. "Saw this recipe and thought of you. Cameron mentioned you like mystery novels. Here's one I just finished. Hope you're doing well." I didn't respond much at first. Just "thank you" or "that's nice." But I watched to see if she'd stop when I didn't engage. She didn't. She kept reaching out, kept trying, never demanding a response. Then, in month 5, something shifted. I got a call from Cameron at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Ma, I'm at the hospital. Can you come?" My heart stopped. "What happened? Are you okay?" "It's not me. It's Vanessa. She collapsed at work. They think it's exhaustion and malnutrition. Ma, she's been skipping meals to save money for your payments. She's been working 70 hours a week between both jobs and not sleeping. The doctor says her body just shut down." I grabbed my keys. "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, I walked into Mercy Hospital and found Cameron in the waiting room, his head in his hands. When he saw me, he stood up. "They're running tests. They said she's severely dehydrated and her blood sugar crashed. Ma, I didn't know. She's been telling me she was fine, that she was eating at work, but she was lying. She was saving every dollar to make sure we could pay you." "Where is she now?" "Room 314. They're giving her IV fluids. She's awake if you want to see her." I didn't know if I wanted to see her. Part of me was still angry, still hurt. But another part of me, the part that had been a nurse's aide before I became a teacher, couldn't ignore someone in a hospital bed. "I'll go see her." Room 314 was at the end of the hall. I knocked softly and pushed open the door. Vanessa was lying in the bed, IV in her arm, looking small and young and scared. When she saw me, her eyes widened. "Mrs. Williams, you didn't have to come." Cameron called me. I sat in the chair next to her bed. "The doctor says you haven't been eating." She looked away. "I've been eating enough." "Vanessa, don't lie to me, not now." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "I was trying to save money. Every dollar I didn't spend on food was another dollar toward paying you back. I thought if I could just make the payments, if I could prove I was serious about making this right, maybe you'd forgive me faster." "So you were starving yourself?" "I wasn't starving. I was just prioritizing." I shook my head. "Vanessa, I don't want your health. I want accountability. There's a difference." "But if I can't make the payments, we'll adjust the payments. You think I want you in a hospital bed because you're trying to pay me back. That's not justice. That's just cruelty." She started crying. "I don't know how to make this right, Mrs. Williams. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm working all the time. I'm going to therapy. I'm trying to be better, but it's never enough. Cameron barely talks to me. You barely acknowledge me. And I deserve that. I know I deserve that, but I don't know how to earn my way back." I pulled a tissue from the box on her bedside table and handed it to her. "Vanessa, let me tell you something. When Cameron was 12, he stole $20 from my purse to buy a video game. When I found out, I made him return the game and work off the $20 doing chores. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't make him feel like he was irredeemable. I didn't make him feel like one mistake to find him forever." She wiped her eyes, listening. "What you did was worse than stealing $20. You hurt me. You used me. You betrayed my trust. But Vanessa, you're a 26-year-old woman who made terrible choices because you were raised with terrible values. That doesn't excuse what you did, but it explains it. And I've been watching you these past 6 months. I've seen you work 2 jobs. I've seen you show up on time with every payment. I've seen you try. But it's not enough. It's not about enough. It's about time. Trust isn't rebuilt in 6 months. Respect isn't earned with apology letters. These things take years. But you're on the right path. You just need to be patient. What if Cameron decides he doesn't want to stay married? What if I'm doing all this work and he leaves anyway? Then you'll still be a better person than you were before. You don't become better to keep Cameron. You become better for yourself. She nodded slowly, fresh tears rolling down her face. A nurse came in to check Vanessa's vitals. You'll need to stay overnight for observation. Your electrolytes are really out of balance. After the nurse left, I stood up. I'm going to go talk to Cameron. You rest. Mrs. Williams, Vanessa's voice was small. Thank you for coming. You didn't have to. You're my daughter-in-law. For better or worse, you're family. And family shows up. I found Cameron in the waiting room, now joined by Vanessa's parents, Patricia and Richard. They looked uncomfortable when they saw me. Dorothy, Patricia said stiffly, we heard about the wedding incident. Very dramatic. Your daughter forged my signature and stole $50,000 from me, Patricia. I'd say it warranted some drama. Richard cleared his throat. We didn't know about the forgery after. If we had known, you would have what? Stopped her? You raised her to value appearance over character. This is the result. Now wait a minute, Richard started, but Cameron interrupted. Dad, stop. Grandma's right. You and Mom taught Vanessa all the wrong lessons, and now we're all paying for it. I looked at Cameron. I need to talk to you, privately. We walked to the end of the hall, away from Vanessa's parents. Cameron, I'm sorry. I didn't know she was doing this to herself. Cameron, listen to me. I'm reducing the payments to $1,000 a month, and I'm extending the term to 50 months. Yes, that means you'll be paying me longer, but your wife isn't going to kill herself trying to meet an impossible deadline. Ma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because what I wanted was for you both to learn responsibility, not for Vanessa to end up in a hospital. This isn't about punishment anymore. It's about healing. He hugged me. Thank you, Ma. And Cameron, you need to decide if you're staying in this marriage or not, because that girl in there is killing herself trying to prove she's worthy of you. If you've already decided you're leaving, tell her now. Don't let her keep suffering for a marriage that's already over. I haven't decided, Ma. That's the truth. Some days I think we can make it. Other days I think about the wedding and I get angry all over again. Then keep going to counseling. Figure it out. But don't drag it out for years. That's not fair to either of you. Yes, ma'am. I drove home that night thinking about Vanessa in that hospital bed, thinking about Cameron's uncertainty, thinking about the whole messy situation. My phone buzzed. A text from Gloria. How's the daughter-in-law situation? I typed back, complicated, but maybe there's hope. And for the first time in 6 months, I actually believed that.
1 year after the wedding, Cameron called me on a Saturday morning. Ma, can you come over tonight? Vanessa and I want to talk to you about something. It's important. My stomach tightened. This was it. They were either announcing a divorce or a pregnancy. Either way, my life was about to change. What time? 7? I'll make dinner. Just come. I spent the day anxious, trying to distract myself with gardening and laundry. By 6:45, I was dressed and driving to their apartment, the same building they'd been living in since the wedding, though I noticed they'd downsized to a smaller unit to save money. Cameron opened the door with a nervous smile. Hey, Ma, come in. The apartment was modest but clean. IKEA furniture, nothing fancy. A far cry from the luxury lifestyle Vanessa had tried to project a year ago. The dining table was set for 3, and something smelt good coming from the kitchen. Vanessa emerged wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her hair pulled back. No makeup. She looked healthy now. She'd gained back the weight she'd lost, and there was color in her cheeks again. "Mrs. Williams, thank you for coming." She gestured to the table. "We made your favorite, pot roast with vegetables." "You remembered?" "Cameron told me. I've been practicing the recipe for 2 weeks." We sat down to dinner, and for the first few minutes it was just small talk. Cameron's job, Vanessa's promotion at work. She'd left the coffee shop after getting a position as an administrative assistant at a nonprofit. The weather, safe topics. Then Cameron set down his fork. "Ma, we asked you here because we wanted to tell you something in person." Here it comes, I thought. He reached over and took Vanessa's hand. "We've been in counseling for a year now, individual and couples, and we've learned a lot about ourselves and each other." Vanessa spoke next. "I've learned that I was raised to be someone I never should have been, someone who valued all the wrong things, someone who hurt people to feel important, and I've been working really hard to become someone different. And I've learned," Cameron continued, "that I was a coward. I let people disrespect my mother because I was afraid of conflict. I chose temporary peace over doing what was right. I failed you, Ma." "We both failed you," Vanessa added. I waited. There was more coming. Cameron took a breath. "After a lot of therapy and a lot of hard conversations, we've made a decision. We're staying together." I felt relief flood through me, though I wasn't sure why. Maybe because divorce felt like another failure, another wound that wouldn't heal. "But," said Vanessa, "we're starting over. The right way this time." "What does that mean?" I asked. Cameron stood up and pulled something from his pocket. A small box. He opened it to reveal 2 simple gold bands, nothing like the expensive wedding rings they'd worn before. "We sold our original wedding rings, the ones from the wedding where we disrespected you. We used that money to make our last few payments to you. You're paid in full, as of yesterday, 14 months early." I stared at them. "You sold your wedding rings?" They represented something ugly. That whole wedding was about impressing people who didn't matter. These new rings, she held up her left hand, showing a simple band, these represent something real. We bought them at a pawn shop for $200. No debt, no drama, just commitment. "And Ma," Cameron said, "we want to do a small ceremony, just family, in your backyard if you'll let us. We want to renew our vows the right way, with you standing beside us, not at table 47, but right there with us where you should have been from the start." My throat tightened. "You want to renew your vows?" "We want to start our marriage over," Vanessa said. "We want to do it right this time, with honesty, with respect, with the people who actually matter." "And Ma," Cameron added, "we want you to be part of the ceremony. We want you to say a few words, to bless the marriage if you can, because without your forgiveness, without your example of grace, we wouldn't have made it this far." I sat there, looking at these 2 young people who had hurt me so deeply a year ago. Cameron, my son, who'd finally found his spine, and Vanessa, who'd been so broken by her upbringing but was slowly becoming whole. "What would this ceremony look like?" I asked. "Small, maybe 20 people. Your garden, some of Cameron's friends from college, Vanessa's one cousin who'd supported her through everything, my neighbors, and a handful of coworkers. No fancy decorations, just the roses I'd planted years ago, blooming red and beautiful. No expensive dress. Vanessa wore a simple white sundress from Target. Cameron wore khakis and a button-down shirt. And I stood beside them both, wearing my burgundy dress, the same one I'd worn to the original wedding. But this time, I stood at the front. This time, I mattered. When it came time for vows, Cameron went first. "Vanessa, a year ago I made promises to you in front of 300 people, but I realize now those promises were hollow because I didn't know who I was or what I stood for. Today, in front of the people who actually matter, I promise you these things. I promise to choose you every day, but never at the expense of my integrity. I promise to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. I promise to honor my mother and the woman who raised me because she showed me what real love looks like. and I promise to be the kind of husband worthy of the sacrifice it took us to get here." Then Vanessa spoke, her voice clear and strong. "Cameron, a year ago I married you for all the wrong reasons. I wanted security. I wanted status. I wanted to prove to people who don't matter that I was worth something. But this past year, you showed me what real worth looks like. It's not about money or appearances. It's about character, about showing up, about doing the hard work even when nobody's watching. Mrs. Williams, I know I can never undo what I did to you, but I promise to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of your forgiveness. I promise to honor you, to listen to you, to treat you with the respect you deserve from the beginning. And I promise to teach any children we have about the difference between performing for others and living with integrity." I didn't realize I was crying until Gloria handed me a tissue. The officiant pronounced them married again, and this time, when they kissed, it felt real. No performance, no audience to impress, just two people choosing each other with clear eyes and honest hearts. Afterwards, we had a simple reception. Barbecue from the place down the street, a playlist on Cameron's phone, cake from the grocery store bakery. And I sat at the head table, because there was only one table, surrounded by people who loved me. Gloria leaned over and whispered, "You did good, Dorothy. You taught them both something important." "What's that?" "That grace doesn't mean being a doormat. It means holding people accountable while still leaving room for redemption." Later that evening, after everyone had left home and Cameron and Vanessa were cleaning up, Vanessa came to find me in the garden where I was cutting roses. "Mrs. Williams, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you forgive me? Really forgive me?" "I'm working on it, honestly. Some days I do. Some days I remember table 47 and I get angry all over again. But Vanessa, forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a journey. And we're on that journey together now." She nodded, accepting that answer. "Fair enough. Can I ask you something else?" "Go ahead." Would you be okay if I called you Mom? Not instead of my own mother, but in addition? Because you've taught me more about being a good person in the past year than she taught me in 26 years. My throat tightened. "I'd be honored." She hugged me then, and this time I hugged her back without hesitation. That night, after everyone had gone home, I sat in my garden alone looking at the stars. I thought about Marcus, my late husband. I thought about the year that had passed. I thought about pain and forgiveness and second chances. My phone buzzed. A text from Cameron. "Thank you, Ma, for everything. I love you." Then one from Vanessa. "Thank you for giving me a family, Mom. I won't take it for granted. I promise." I texted them both back. "See you Sunday for dinner. I'm making pot roast." Because that's what families do. They show up. They forgive. They give second chances.